Hello everybody and welcome back to the Blockade Arena, and today we have a deck profile for you guys of the brand new Union Arena card game, and we're going to be doing a deck profile of one of my favorite decks that I have played this far in the series. So this card game just released this October. I have a video up right now of the super pre-release starter decks as well as a box opening for both Bleach and Hunter x Hunter, and you guys can look forward to seeing more deck profile videos, more boxes being opened, and so on and so forth as we keep going through this series. You can also see below here that I have an official Union Arena Bleach playmat, which is very beautiful and I love it a whole lot. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video of the deck profile of my favorite deck so far, the Toshiro Kenpachi deck. So we're going to start off by showcasing what is in the deck. Then we'll go on to talking about some different play styles you can go with and strategies and combos and such like that. But let's go ahead and jump into the main portion, and that is what the actual deck entails. So to start off with, we have our zero energy cards, and that are characters that have the zero energy in the corner, as you all can see. This is so you could be able to actually make plays, because if you don't have a zero energy to start off, you cannot actually play anything else out. So I do have 4 of those in the deck of Toshiro. We also have 4 Retsus, and of course we're running the 3 of Toshiro Ukitake. So the reason I'm running these specific and not just any grade zeros is because these are raid options. You want some really cheap turn 1 options that you can start raiding as soon as possible. And Retsu is a raid option for one of our cards in the deck, and so is Toshiro, and we'll get to those later. And then Toshiro Ukitake is basically just a great grade 0 or energy 0 to play out, because he does have the option to, and I can show you what his effect is here, that you can on your main phase switch it to rest, and then you can gain an extra energy, but then this gets sidelined afterwards. So this basically just lets you get an extra energy for that turn with the cost of him going to the graveyard. So those are our 0 energy based options. And then next we're going to go through a few cards that allow us to get 2 energy off of them instead of just 1. And that is, to start off with, we got Izuru Kira. And this card, basically when it is rested, it has 1 energy. When it is active, it has 2 energy. So this is a great option for allowing you to get 2 energy as the game progresses. And then we also have one of the 4 Sajin, which is this is the alt art, of course, for those who have not seen the alt art. So this one is a step card that lets you move between the energy line and front line, and when he attacks, I can choose up to one of my 13 court guard squad cards, and it gains 500 for the turn. He also has the trigger, which you all can see there. But normally he has 2 energy, which is a good thing. So we have 8 cards that produce 2 energy by themselves, which is very important because you're only allowed 4 energy zones to be able to play on. So you're going to have as much energy as possible. And this deck runs a card with 6 energy, so you have to have as much as you can. Then for our other tech options, we have 4 of the Toshiro card that is a 2 energy to play with 1 action. Normally, when he is on the board, when you play him out, if there are 6 or more 13 court squad affinity cards, he gets 500. So the biggest thing about the combo for this deck is that you're going to be running a lot of cards on board, so you can get up to 6 and be able to use the benefits of those effects, especially when you get to your high-end cards. They have some really good effects when they are at 6 or more of the 13 court guards. So, but this one is another raid option, as well as just a really good 3k attacker, which I think is very, very good to have. We're also running the 4 of the Kenpachi Zaraki, which requires 4 energy on the board to be able to play him. But what's really good about him is he has reduction prevention, so you cannot reduce his BP at all, which is very helpful when dealing with cards and decks like the Ichigo deck, for example. But also during your turn, whenever it's your turn, he has a 5k, which makes him really hard to be blocked without some sacrifice being involved. So that is another good card in the deck. And then we have some tech choices here. We're running a 2 of on this Shinji here. I think I said it, I'm going to say his name wrong. Shinji Hirako. And of course it won't. There we go. Shinji. When you play him, you can choose a 13 court guard card on the field, and it gets impact. If it already has impact, it gets 2 impact. So that is a very good card to have. I really like this. It's an on play. It's 3K, so he can attack and be good on his own, but also when he's played, you can give something impact for the turn. And I think that's very helpful when trying to deal with the end of the game and finishing up the game itself. And then we are running 4 of Yachiro. This card is honestly a hell of a good card, and I will talk more about its combos here in a little bit, but Yachiro is a very good card. I wish it would stop blurring. But you could choose one Kenpachi Zaraki card on your field and switch to active. Now, you cannot do this in battle, so you can't just like battle and then play this and restand it, but I'll show you a strategy where this comes into effect. So, but those are our little tech choices in between our main have-to cards. And then let's get on to our high-end and our very important cards in the deck, or most of the time your SR options. But I am running 4 of Toshiro. So Toshiro is a raid card, so you can raid him over top of any Toshiro on board, and you can move him from energy line to your action or front line and be able to attack that turn. But with Toshiro, basically what he does is when you play him on board, if you have 6 or more cards on board with the 13 court guards, you can freeze one of your opponent's characters and rest them for the turn. This is very impactful if you are 4 attackers, 4 blockers, they have 1 damage left, and you need to get through that last damage. Play this out, rest it, finish the game. That is pretty much how that would work. But also the other part of his abilities, if you have 6 or more 14 court, when you play him down, you get to automatically freeze one of their characters. But if you have 6 or more 13 court guard cards on the field, you can freeze their entire energy line. And cards like this one right here that require it to be active, this will impact decks that reuse similar cards, because when you do that, it is till the end of their turn, and same with the character that they put on the board that you freeze. So you get to freeze a character and their energy line for the entire next turn of theirs, which is very detrimental to decks, especially if they need that energy to be able to play out stuff. So that is one of our main cards for the deck, as well as Kenpachi. So this is not a raid card, so you can't raid him out onto the field. But what makes him really good is he has impact, so you can deal 1 damage regardless if they block, and it kills it. You do it. But on play, if you have you can KO something with 2,000 or less BP, but if you have 6 or more cards with 13 court guards, you can KO something with 4 or less BP instead. So that is a very, very good card about clearing the board, trying to do some damage to your opponent's life. It's very helpful to have some board removal when trying to finish the games. And then, of course, we have Yachiro Unohana, which is a card that we mentioned earlier that you have as a raid option on top of Retsu. And so what he does is that he lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, grab something with 4 or less energy, like Kenpachi, and you can add it to your hand, and then the next card you play, you can reduce the action cost of that card by 1. So if you searched out, for example, Toshiro, and he has an action 1 there, that means you can play Toshiro off his ability for free. So he is a very, very important card, and I like him a lot for that option. Now, obviously, I could run him at a 4, which wouldn't be a bad idea, and I'm still debating that. But right now, I won my first tournament using this deck, and I felt like the numbers were pretty good, to be honest. If I do anything, I may decrease Kenpachi by 1 and add 1 more of him. And then for our events for the deck, we are running 4 of the Hironomuro, which allows us to KO something on board, 5,000 or less. Well, actually, you can rest it, or if you have Toshiro on board, you can KO it. So basically, if you have Toshiro on board, you're popping something on the board. Otherwise, you're resting it, which still is impactful. And of course, Bankai, which every deck is running a version of Bankai that lets you basically choose up to 2 of your action points and switch them to active. So that is the deck profile itself. The deck is amazing. Oh, and we cannot forget, every deck has to have 3 action points. And of course, we have 2 from the set here. You have the Ichigo, or the good lord, the Kenpachi and the Toshiro, which I think are really cool. And then, of course, we got this card off of participating in our weeklies which I think is really awesome. And I'll show you guys the winner card later. I did get a winner card for this, but he'll be in another deck of mine that I'll show you guys later. But now let's go ahead and jump over and show you guys some strategies you can use with this deck and some combos that I think are really fun and could be important to know for future gameplay. All right, so we're going to show you guys a really cool combo here that we can pull off utilizing a few cards in our deck. So to start off with, we're going to have 3 action points. You have to have 3 action points to be able to pull this maneuver off, as well as having the following cards in your energy line. You want to have 2 of Izuru, or something that produces 2 energy each, 1 Toshiro, and 1 Retsu. So I'm going to put these down here because I don't have, well, actually, yeah, let's move this up a little bit. So this is kind of what you want to see, right? You know, at this point in time, if you want to pull off this combo, you want to have 2 Izurus, 1 Toshiro, 1 Retsu, and you want to have 3 action points currently available to you. So this would be the start of your turn, basically. So to start, this combo is honestly dependent on having these 5 cards in hand to produce this effect. And you can also do it without the Toshiro, but I'm wanting to showcase a really cool full maximum ability that you can pull off. But even if you don't have, if you just have those cards and you can search this off of that, that would be phenomenal. But let's go ahead and show you guys what that combo would look like. So to start off, you would use 1 action point to start off by playing Yachiru Unohana on board by raiding it forward. Now, the reason you want to start there is because he requires 6 energy to play out. So you have to start with him or you won't be able to get the full maximum ability. If you were to raid Toshiro first, you wouldn't have enough energy for the Unohana. But when you raid him out, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and let's just say we searched off and got Kenpachi. So when you search off that, his next part is the next card you play, you can play for 1 action less than normal. So this is when you're going to go ahead and pop that action point and play out the Kenpachi you just drew off of the ability for free. And it requires to be a 4 cost or less to do this. So you can't play anything else 5 or higher off of this ability, but you can play Kenpachi. So when Kenpachi gets played on board, his ability allows if you have 6 or more, and at this time we wouldn't have 6 or more to pop a 5k on board. But this is just basically saying that we didn't have something on board already, because we obviously could have had a full board already stacked from beforehand. So, you know, if you're wanting the full extent of it, you might want to have a couple of cards, and I'm just going to throw some cards out there just to show you how this would work. So let's say this is your board state, you know, when you play him out. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you get to pop something off of the board, which is phenomenal. Lets you get, you know, clear off a character on your opponent's board, and that is great. All right, so you still have 1 action left. With that 1 action, you're going to want to tap your action and play Bankai, so you can restand 2 of your action points and get yourself back up to being able to play out 2 more cards for the turn. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use 1 of your action points to play out Toshiro on top of this character here, because you might as well not impact your, you know, one that's down in your energy, so you can keep your energy line pretty high up. But when you play him out, his ability will activate because you will have 6 or more on board. You can now freeze their energy line, and you can freeze their board, one of their characters on their board. So now you have popped one of their characters and you've frozen one of their characters for the turn. And so for doing that, let's say your opponent's at 2 damage left. Well, now they're at 2 damage left. You've got 4 attacks coming through. They're going to have to let 2 of them through, and they're going to be done. But I know what you're saying. Well, how can you do 4 attacks this turn? Kenpachi's technically rested. Well, with that 1 last action point, you're going to play out Yachiro, which will now let you stand the Kenpachi that you just played that turn as active. So now you have a full force 4 attack on board right off of this energy being at 5 technically. You basically got to use a total of 5 energy this turn using all the cards we've shown here. And that's just a little bit of what you can do, because now this turn you're going to get to attack with all 4 of these characters with impact on one of them, and you KO'd and rested 2 characters. So now your opponent is sitting at a really bad place for you to be able to finish the game right from there. especially if you've done damage early game and kind of set yourself up for this. Now, obviously, that's a lot of combos you'll have to have in place. You have to have a lot of cards perfectly to pop this ability off, but it is very well worth it. So in one of my games that I won, and this is kind of how the strategy went, I didn't have some of this stuff on board, but I was able to pop this off, these three together, and you can do these three together if you wanted to, but I just want to show the maximum that you can do off of your 3 energy for that turn and having those cards available. And that's just one strategy that you can use with this deck. Obviously, your main cards that you're going to want to try and get out there is some of these characters at rest, so you can do some damage as fast as possible. And getting 6 cards on board and keeping 6 cards can be very hard when you're playing against decks like, Korpika, who can just kind of keep attacking and sniping your characters. And, so it can be a little difficult to keep a board state at all times. But, if you're going fast enough and doing enough damage, you can do a lot of stuff pretty fast with this deck. But that is just one combo I wanted to show off for today's video. This deck is all about utilizing your characters wisely, having enough resources and management of those resources to get off these 6 or less, 6 more cards on field or less abilities, and just going from there. I really like this deck. It is one of my favorite decks right now, and it's utilizing just 3 of the amazing cards from the green support of the Bleach set that we got. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you're interested in more, we will have some gameplay videos for you guys here in the future. We'll also have a lot more of these deck profiles available for you guys, showcasing just a little bit of what these decks can do for you guys with playing them. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time when we're back in the arena.